Okay.
Come on over. We got room for you.
The things on the to like run through.
That's exactly right. Much better than that direction.
Ask.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's 6 o'clock, and I'd like to call the January 2nd, 2020 Columbia County Planning Commission meeting to order. If you'd stand with me, Commissioner Wilder will lead us in our invocation. Commissioner Futch will lead us in the pledge.
Y'all bow with me. Our dear Lord, we thank you for another beautiful day. Rain, whether we need it or not, we do appreciate it. Thank you for all the many blessings you bestow on this country, this county. We ask that you please look over our deliberations this evening, guide us in the direction that best serves the applicants, the county, and everyone concerned. Ask that you give us all safe passage home when we leave this meeting.
Probably.
Thank you. Be seated. I'd like to remind you to please silence your cell phones. We do have 4 or 5 members present tonight. Commissioner Henderson had to be out of town on business, so we wish him safe travels. Gentlemen, you've had an opportunity to read the minutes from the December 19th meeting. If there are no changes, I need a motion for approval.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Motion to approve carries 4-0. Gentlemen, we've also had a chance to examine the agenda for tonight. We have no additional items that I'm aware of. If the agenda meets your satisfaction, I need a motion for approval.
So move.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor? Motion to approve the agenda as it stands passes 4-0. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to clarify that the Planning Commission is a recommending body to the Columbia County Board of Commissioners. The decisions made on rezoning and variance requests tonight will be forwarded to the Commissioners for final action on January 21st, 2020 at 6 p.m. in these chambers. If you wish to address the Board of Commissioners at their meeting, please see Ms. Kara Harden, and she'll give you a request to speak form. We're less formal. Some of you have been here. I recognize you from past meetings. If you've never been here before, if you have an item in our public hearing that you'd like to speak for or against, please raise your hand, and we'll ask you to come to the microphone and give us the additional information you'd like to give to us. And we'd ask that you limit your remarks to 3 to 5 minutes. If you have something you'd like to speak on that does not involve any of the items on the agenda for the public hearing, but just wish to go on the record, we have a little time at the end of the meeting for public comments. Just raise your hand, same thing, we'll ask you to come up and give us your comments, and please limit those to 3 to 5 minutes. Normally at this time, we would go into officer elections for 2020. However, Mr. Henderson called and had to leave town at the last minute today and asked that we delay our nominations for one meeting. If that's okay with you gentlemen, I'd like a motion to delay the officer elections for one meeting.
That need to be.
And I think we ought to do it in form of motion and vote, just to be safe.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we delay officer voting nominations until the January 16th meeting of the Planning Commission.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Motion to delay officer elections passes 4-0. That being said, let's move right into our business. We have one presented as information only temporary use authorization. Mr. Butler.
Thank you, sir. So, yeah, temporary use authorization at 5,000 Riceboro Road, otherwise known as GIW, currently zoned M2. Temporary use is for a single construction job site office trailer was approved on December 16th, 2019. This is the location of the property. Again, we're all pretty familiar with GIW. Zoning and currently zoned M2. The piece that's kind of green over here is within the Grovetown city limits. Aerial view of the site. So the very intricate site plan for where they're going to put the trailer. About 2 months ago, 2 or 3 months ago, we approved about 14 trailers that are gonna be linked together. That was basically right here. This is gonna be adjacent to that. GIW is going through a very large expansion, probably starting later this month. They'll need a lot of areas for displaced employees while they go through that. Again, staff approved this back on December 16th. Staff report on the TUA.
Sir, gentlemen, any questions on that? All right, thank you very much. Our first tonight, Ms. Neal, file RZ 191204.
Yes, sir, this is
You're
the,
anxious to get up here tonight.
this is a request for a major PUD revision for single-family homes on property located at 5466 Hereford Farm Road on 2.5 acres. This shows the location of the site. The subject property is on the north side of River Birch Drive, east of Hereford Farm, next to Lewiston Elementary and the River Birch Landing planned unit development. This shows the zoning of the site. It has the school, which is planned unit development, as well as River Birch, and R1 zoning across the street from it. This shows the aerial of the site and the existing site. This property was zoned planned unit development in 1996 and had revisions in 2003 and 2011 for the school, and neither one of these revisions had this leftover space in it. In their narrative, there was no specifications on how it was going to be built out. So it requires them to have major revision for anything to be developed on that property. This shows a plat of the property, or plat of it. This shows a site plan that they're planning on doing. They're going to be dividing one lot into 5 lots. You'll have 3 across the front of River Birch, and you'll have these 2 in the back, which will be different lot sizes. You'll have setbacks of 20 feet on the front 3 and 7.5 side setbacks. And then the other 2 lots will have, they'll be 0.7 acres, and the second one's gonna be 1.1 acres. There is a large easement across the back of it for state waters and a 20-foot drainage and utility easement. That's along the north side of the property back here. And the applicants proposed for this parcel to be larger to accommodate for the easement and buffer requirements for those easements. And both lots in the back will have a 30-foot buffer along the west sides of the property near the Lewiston Elementary School. But they have not proposed the same width buffer for the leftmost side of the property, which is this one. So we've put in for a condition for them to have a 6-foot fence along that property line. And you can go ahead to the next one. As far as the future land use goes, it's in the neighborhoods character area on the Vision 2035, which is 4 single-family developments. Their density is usually 1 to 4 units per acre, so this fits within that vision. And staff recommends approval with the condition for the fence to be along that front left lot near the Lewiston Elementary School. However, the applicants requested to table this item until January 16th, since he was not able to be present tonight, so that he could discuss the buffer requirement in a little more detail. And that concludes staff recommendation.
Gentlemen, any questions, Ms. Neal? Okay, thank you. Regardless of the fact that the applicant wants to table this particular rezoning, we will conduct a public hearing tonight. Once we've received comment, we'll suspend that, assuming that we get a motion to table, until January 16th, where we'll reopen the public hearing. So at this time, I'd like to open the floor for any comments for or against this particular rezoning. Yes, ma'am. Please come forward, give us your name, home address, and what comments you'd like to make.
Good evening. My name is Rachel Rollins. I have 12 Greer Circle. A few concerns we have about this development. There appears to be no buffer allocated behind the homes on Birch next to it. We're uncertain if that 30-foot access is going to be along private driveway or if it's going to be street, but there does seem no room for the house on River Birch to have any type of buffer between their driveway or street.
Ms. Neal, do we know how they're going to address the access and what kind of buffering there'll be between I'm assuming the the drive and, I guess with the fencing that's there?
Yeah, all of the houses have full fencing.
Ms. Neal, do you have any information on that? Or any of the other staff, if you're familiar with this?
But they didn't clarify how they're gonna, how they're gonna put a driveway back there. You know, we can all assume there's gonna be a driveway because it's a drainage, or it's a access easement. They haven't said what it's gonna look like.
Well, the thing is, with those two large plots in the back, assuming the front houses are gonna have front entry driveways, they're still gonna have to allow for trash trucks to be able to get. So 30 feet, if they're gonna put in just a single double width driveway, that means no sidewalks, and it potentially means no.
That is an access easement. It's not really designed to be a road. It's also not wide enough to be a road.
That's
Essentially a
what we
driveway.
thought, hence the concern that it's entirely likely that they're gonna take down some of these fences or whatnot that have grown up.
But they'd have to replace the fences if they did happen to take them down.
Yeah,
All right, we'll note that concern, and we'll make sure to ask that question and make sure they're very specific about what their plan is with their access easement, and if there's any plans to put a buffer between, you know, whatever they put in there and your all's houses.
the only other, I think, concern we have, green space allotment for them, that's at the end of the property. If it's not part of the neighborhood, then they don't appear to have made an allowance for green space at all, dividing up the spot.
And it looks like that at the end of the cul-de-sac is not in this particular rezoning. So we have really nothing to consider.
No, but in terms of the
that.
rezoning itself, if this is separate from the green space allocation for the neighborhood,
It
they
would be.
have made no allocation for green space.
And again, I'm going to defer to staff on that.
Back up a little bit. We don't know anything about what the width of that easement's gonna
Be 30 feet.
30-foot access and utility easement. Now, the thing she's talking about is actually behind this piece of property. This one right there.
Right there.
So if I'm not 100% on this development. Now, if I remember correctly, this doesn't have anything
No, it's green,
attached to it.
it was set aside as common and
Yeah.
green space, yeah. And that was for the neighborhood, but if when I took a quick look through the codes, if he's developing that his own piece of land and it's not part of that larger piece, he's supposed to set aside green space.
He has this one right here.
That's part of River Birch.
And this whole PUD at one time was one piece.
So it is, if that's still within the green space allocation, then I'm fine. It just wasn't clear if it was accounted for it or not. I
Yeah.
don't have all the details behind it.
It should be.
Okay.
Now, like I said, I'm personally 100% on if it is or not. I'm going off what I can remember from about a year ago. So I hope I'm right. But again, we'll have a look at it as well.
We'll ask the question and make sure
Okay.
staff takes that in consideration.
Thank you. That
Thank
takes
you, ma'am.
care
We
of it.
appreciate you coming out. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak either for or against this particular rezoning? Yes, ma'am. Please give us your name and home address.
I'm Kathy Blackburn. I live at 2514 Greer Circle in River Birch Landing. A couple of questions. Are these homes going to be a part of River Birch Landing, or are they going to be separate? Is it going to be part of our neighborhood?
So from a zoning standpoint, they're all part of the same zoning. Now, if they're gonna be part of the HOA, that's something the developer would have to work out with the existing HOA if you're gonna let them be part of the association or not.
Okay. And to what standard are these houses going to be built? Because, you know, we don't want our property values to decrease if they build homes that are not within the same.
Well, so to that end, you may want to have them under the HOA if you want the same type of houses. You may want to discuss with them, being part of that development, part of that HOA.
And that would be one of the questions we'd ask if the developer was here.
Okay, because, you know, you understand my concern.
Yes,
If they
ma'am.
build
Absolutely.
$100,000 home and it's going to bring all our property values
Right.
down.
On the location and the size of the lots, he's about got to build something nice to make any money off of it, I would think.
We just wanted some reassurances before they start building.
Comes
so-
in and puts a little bit, it's nothing, I don't think that's gonna happen. Not sure of that now. Be
But
better
we'll-
off if we
we'll
had
make-
him here to ask.
We'll make sure we ask that, and I would ask that you all come to the
Back
next
on the-
meeting as well. Yes,
And
ma'am.
that's on the 16th?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
6 o'clock, same time.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak either for or against this particular rezoning? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and accept a motion to approve, deny, or to table.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion for RZ 19-12-04, tabled until January 16th.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Motion to table till the 16th carries 4-0. 16th is the right date, isn't it? I know we've been saying that. Don't want to make a mistake this early in the year, or another mistake, should I say. All right, Mr. Butler, let's move on to the next rezoning, file RZ 191205.
This is a request for rezoning from RA, residential agricultural, to R1, single-family residential, at 2787 Scotts Ferry Road. This is on the east side of Scotts Ferry Road at the intersection of Sellers Road and Scotts Ferry. Being currently zoned RA, everything around it is RA, except for we have a solar farm that was approved about 6 months ago, and a cell tower right there. They're both zoned S1. There's an aerial view of the site. You can see the buildings we'll be talking about later with the variants are right there. Site itself. So the backstory on this, the applicant purchased the property in 1966. They were told at the time this plat was approved and adopted as part of that, that's 4.74 acres. Now, they went and added some property in 83, I believe it was just over a half acre. I can't remember the exact number, but again, it would bring it to where it's above 5 acres. One of the reasons to do that is that RA requires you to have a 2.5 acre lot size to be able to subdivide the property. They're looking to do that, or they were looking to do that. However, come to find out when they actually had a plat that was a proposed plat a couple months ago, found out they did not have the land they thought they did. So they're looking at right at 4.75 acres, give or take a little bit. So that causes an issue with it being an RA. You cannot subdivide the property. This shows you here, we got tract A that's 2.5 acres and tract B, which is 2.24. Tract B does not meet the requirement for a 2.5 acre minimum lot size. So the request is for the rezone to R1, which would allow you essentially an acre lot size in order to be able to subdivide the property. The applicant is looking to sell or give, or however we want to have this, the back property to some family members, to have the existing shop there. Some of the reasons are listed within the report. So from a staff standpoint, this is unfortunately, again, we very much understand the plight of the applicant, no fault of her own at all. This is something that a surveyor screwed up, almost 50 years ago at this point, more than 50 years. And so the issue there is that, from that side of it, we do have some sympathy. However, zoning code, this is a very clear case of spot zoning, and that is very much frowned upon. In terms of future land use, is within the rural character area, which does require 2.5 acre minimum lot size, for lack of a better term. The staff is going to recommend its approval of the request. Now, however, we do have a condition in case there is the appetite to approve this, that if it is approved, a note should be added to the plat saying that no further subdivision of the created parcels may occur. The reason for that is in R1, you could actually subdivide these two parcels down even further. Again, that would kind of go against what they're trying to accomplish here and what we're trying to, or what could be accomplished with the R1 request. That includes staff recommendation.
Gentlemen, any questions of staff?
Could you explain for anybody here that may not know what the spot approval is? Why that's frowned on?
So if you go back to this map here, everything around it is RA. You got some S1 that's in there. S1, there are going to be things that are unique. There are churches, there are cell towers, solar farms, that sort of thing. So there are things that are kind of outside of the normal appearance. Now, if you throw an R1 in the middle of all this RA, you've created this island of R1 within all the RA. You've basically done someone a favor, essentially, is what it comes down to. Now, one of the things that we do have to look at here, you got parcels very close by that are less than 2.5 acres. Now, a lot of those parcels, they had to have been created before the zoning code changed. So they're legally non-conforming. You can put a house on them, you can live on them, it's not an issue. We cannot create a lot, though, that is non-conforming. Cannot do that.
by the ordinance.
That's where the request for the R1 comes into play.
Let me ask you this question. Let's say that you've got one not too far from them, 0.2 acres. In zone RA. Can they build a house on it?
Sure. Is an existing, I mean, it's non-conforming, but is it an existing lot? You can
Because
use
it's
it.
existing.
Yes, that's correct.
So the legal remedy to this would be a text amendment change in the ordinance or a change to the ordinance itself,
Good.
which we can't initiate without guidance from the commission?
Could initiate it if you want to.
Okay.
It's not really, commission can initiate, y'all can initiate,
We-
staff can ask you to initiate.
We usually don't initiate ordinance changes out of the blue, though.
Not typically.
Yeah.
It's a, here's a problem, we're gonna solve it, staff's already come up with
Right.
probably the way to go with it. So,
So the county's concern is if we spot zone this, we're setting a precedent, and you're concerned about what's coming after. Is that correct?
you could say that. Again, the comp plan kind of carries a little more weight. Spot zoning carries some weight, it does. But again, that's definitely where we're landing with it.
Okay, gentlemen, any other questions? Is the applicant here? Yes, sir, would you come forward and give us your name and home address?
Yes, I'm Bill English. I live at 377 Arthur Grimod Way, Appling. This is my mother, Edna Pascal, the applicant. She's at 2787 Scotts Ferry Road.
All right, is there anything you'd like to give us as
Well,
far as comment?
Just to clarify a couple things, you know, she's trying to do her last will and testament. The smaller tract of land there, she would like to leave it in her will to her nephew, who's practically grown up, working that hobby shop with dart track cars and such, her late husband. It's always been a plan, to, subdivide and give that lot away, and that's why, all along, thinking we had more than 5 acres,
Right.
that was the plan. So, this, there's no plans to build any house on it. Of course, down the road, anything can happen. He plans on giving that to her nephew. One thing I'd like to point out, if you could bring back up the other, the plat with all of the other houses, that one. If you notice just below that one, our plat there's plots that Will pointed out a minute ago. A lot of those are family members. These are all family members that live around this area right here, been in the family for, hundreds of years. And there's no complaint about this. Everybody knows what we were trying to do. With this division. And just wanted to clarify that it's going to stay in the family and probably for years and years and years.
And this is a delicate question I'm going to ask you, but you mentioned last will and testament. Are we looking at any kind of condition here that adds urgency to this?
No,
Okay, just want to make sure. I do too.
no, but she's my mother's an octogenarian and she needs to have a will.
Sure.
And this is her wishes, and I'm trying to help her get the will done and, go through the process of getting this so that it can happen. And we'd ask that your, recommendation on that.
Not gonna be any change, not really any change. Everything will be just like it is.
The issue we've got is we haven't, we're a recommending body to the commissioners. So what we do is we come and we give folks like you time to come forward and give us a little more commentary. We have to look at things in black and white here. Now, the commissioners, they can pretty much make whatever change they want to if they so choose. But it comes down to black and white. We give them a recommendation, and perhaps this is something they need to consider and deal with a text amendment. But again, on our side, we can't make it up as we go.
Mr. Cox, and I want to say Danielle was very clear on
Yes, sir.
on all of that and basically told us exactly what you just said.
Right.
And we understand that. But we're, you know, we actually tried to buy additional property from next door neighbors there to avoid, you know, having to
Right.
get a rezoning there. And one of the properties is in conservation use.
Right.
And the other neighbor that borders this, you know, it's got water lines running through what we would have to buy from it.
Don't you have two separate plats, deeds for this property? It's platted separately, isn't it?
Yeah, this is a separate, you know, 4
Got
point.
one for 2.50 and one for 2.24.
No, they're not two separate plats at this point. That is our proposed,
My understanding was it was already two separate ones.
that's our proposal. We're, you know, trying to separate her house from the back part of the land where the shop is.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
What they want to do. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak either for or against this particular rezoning? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and accept a motion to approve, deny, or to table.
Nobody's gonna speak about it.
I want to approve it.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and go against what I normally would do, but I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay?
Now, let's go from there.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, gentlemen,
Are you gonna include the condition?
in your motion to include the condition,
Yes.
would you mind stating that?
I make a motion to approve it with the condition.
Okay, second still hold?
I still second.
Okay. All right, gentlemen? Discussion?
The spot zoning, I understand. I don't know, we want to stay away from that. It's not good because the line will form of people that want special exceptions. The history of this piece of property, what happened with the bad survey, leads me to feel like we can change this without it being treated like we did something special for somebody, other than try to right a wrong that was done.
We have got something to hang our hat on with this because of that.
That's the only reason I would go
I
against
think.
the rules, rules as they are.
That'd be,
I think so.
Justification I've got, and I feel like that should be sufficient for a level-headed person.
Is it,
One other question too, excuse me. How much of that property are you being taxed on? How many acres? So you've been, excuse me, could you come back to the microphone again? So this brings up another issue.
That's
You've been taxed more than what the value is.
That's correct, for,
For how long?
since 1983. And then before, in 1966, before that, she was been taxed on 4.74 acres, and she really didn't have that until, and then in 1983, she added 0.65 acres to it, and we thought we had 5.39 acres. But then we got ready to do this, you
So
know,
that's
subdividing.
another reason I was willing to make the motion.
was there a survey done in 83?
No,
Property transfer?
only of the addition.
That was another thing on my mind, because I'd already been told that. And I don't know what that Board of Tax Assessors or the Tax Assessor's Office stance would be on this. But it seems to me that they're taking more money than what they're supposed to be having.
Well, that's correct, because she's been paying taxes on 5.39 acres since
That's something we
1983.
can get somebody to address for you.
Have y'all sought remedy for that?
Pardon me?
Have you brought that up with the tax assessor
no,
or
we
the tax
haven't.
commissioner?
You know, we're just trying to get this done. You know, that's kind of water under the bridge at this point. And we did ask somebody in passing, and they said that maybe the tax commissioners could come back and give her the difference for a few years.
For some reason, I think it's 3 years you can go back.
Yeah, but we haven't pursued that yet. We're just trying to get this, get it done. What happened, the original plat of property here had, it was, said 700 feet, and it was actually 600 feet. Her property line, if you actually, found the corner of it, it actually crossed Highway 221 and went over into a field over there. Actually a forest. And our surveyor, to do the subdivision, discovered the error. He came back and says, man, he says, we're just short. And so we've been trying to do everything we can to make up that shortage, and the only way we can do this is, try to get this rezoning.
Then they go back just about to Self Road.
Pardon me?
What's the name of that dirt road that was closed off back behind your property?
Sellers Road?
Sellers Road is what I meant to say.
Right.
It goes back to that, close to that?
Yes.
I realize, and I don't want to be the Grinch here, but you guys realize that we're here to interpret the code, that the commissioners can take the line that you all are taking here. But if that's the motion, thank you, y'all can sit down. Is there any other discussion we need to have?
Approve it. Still.
Either approve or disapprove, it goes to the commissioners.
Call for the vote. Call for the vote, and let's see.
All right, we got it covered. I know you're jumpy.
I am jumpy.
Yes, any other questions or discussion? Okay, all in favor of approval? Raise your right hand. All opposed? So, got tie vote, so the vote fails. So, we need to, the question would be, is anybody gonna change their mind? So we got 2-2, so in that case, do we have a motion to table till we get a quorum, or do we send it to the Board of Commissioners with no recommendation with a tie vote? I don't know that I've ever seen one of these.
You have a motion and you have a vote, I think you can send it to the BOC with the motion as submitted and the vote as
As a tie vote,
tie vote.
okay, with no possible remedy either way.
Well, ultimate decision will be made by the BOC anyway.
Absolutely,
So
right.
they just don't have a clear direction from the planning commission as to
Right.
what their opinion on this particular application is. It's split vote. It
Yeah.
is what it is.
But they will have the minutes, though.
They will have the minutes for
So again,
discussion.
they'll be able to see, here's what transpired, here's why it came out the way it did.
Hypothetically, if we have guidance from them to table this to a future date, and they ask us to come up with code that would deal with something like this in the future, what kind of timeline are we looking at before that could be written, vetted, approved, and put into the code for enforcement? 3 months?
At least 3 months.
At least 3 months? And that may ultimately be
Real
the
fast.
remedy is to be perfectly legal all the way around, is for them to recommending tabling this until we get, and I'm not trying to speak for a commissioner, but that may be their recommendation, so we're covered on all sides. I don't know that, but I'm sure that the commissioners will have discussions with their appointees and look at the minutes and decide what direction they're gonna go from there. But would that be a possible remedy?
And I think certainly they'll be in touch with staff to kind of make sure they understand all the nuances of this particular application and what are their options before they take their vote.
Right,
And
okay.
to clarify my motion a little bit more, if it had been handled properly way back in the beginning, I wouldn't have this attitude about it. And I rarely go against what the issue is and knowing that it's not exactly by the rules. However, under the circumstances with her, the way it was done a long time ago, and the fact that the county's been charging more money than they ought to charge her, whether she ends up getting it back or not, I just don't think that's right. So I guess I'm trying to right or wrong by making the motion.
Yeah, and I think, you know, at one, it's several years ago, I think I asked the question of the tax commissioner, how many years you could go back, and I believe the answer was 3. They'd go back, and there may be a remedy for more, but, you know,
Significant amount.
absolutely. All right, so,
Minutes are gonna reflect that there was error from the surveyor. Back in what,
Yeah, I mean, you have the minutes and also our report. I mean,
Okay.
both of them are gonna be.
Yeah, and BOC gets all of that information, so
Right.
they'll have all that. to
number of them
digest.
listen to the commentary as well. All right, Mr. Butler, let's move on to the accompanying variance with this, VA 19-1203.
This request for a variance, section 9-53, lists the lot and structure requirements, to reduce building setbacks at 2787 Scotts Ferry Road. We're all pretty familiar with where it is, again, on the east side of Scotts Ferry Road and Sellers Road, and currently zoned RA. An aerial view of the site, again, we'll be talking about these buildings right there. Existing site, and also the existing shops on the property. As you can see from the picture, they are right on what amounts to the road. The property line does go to the center line of Sellers Road, a little different than most. Usually we have a right of way there. But again, this is an older road, and that's how it was laid out. So we have the plat from 1966. We've kind of already gone over the whole backstory on this, so I won't dwell into that in this case. So the as-built is showing us that we've got about 16 feet between the property line for the barn and about the same amount for the shop to the actual, the center line of the road itself. That setback would actually be 5 feet from the center line in this case, so it isn't nowhere close to meeting that requirement. Overall, staff doesn't have any issues with the existing buildings being there. Sellers Road, like we talked about before, is a dead-end road. There's a few houses down it, very low traffic. Not a concern that it's going to be a problem in terms of traffic-wise. In terms of their age, they've been there for a while. They have not been a problem. Again, not an issue there either. The staff has recommended approval of the variance with a couple of conditions. First being the building setbacks are reduced to permit the existing building to remain. Further provided as with his application, and all future structure on the property shall comply with building setbacks. That includes staff recommendation.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, we know the applicant's here. Do y'all have anything you'd like to add to the staff presentation? All right, thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here that'd like to speak either for or against this variance? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and accept a motion to approve, deny, or to table.
Chairman, I make a motion to approve, file VA 191203.
Do you hear a second?
second?
With conditions? Second still hold? Okay. Discussion? All in favor? Motion to approve the variance. Approved 4-0. Ms. Bolte, file RZ 200101, first rezoning of the year.
Yes, sir, this is a request for rezoning from RA Residential Agriculture to R2 Single Family Residential off Hamilton Road. This property actually has 2 road frontages. It's bounded on the south side by Hamilton Road and on the north side by Wrightsboro Road. The corner of it comes just across from the intersection with Baker Place Road. This property is currently zoned RA, as is the immediately adjacent property. There is other R2 zoning in the area. This is Willow Oak Village down here. And on the opposite side of Wrightsboro Road was the recently approved R2 for Quaker Knoll. Aerial of the site, it is currently an undeveloped property, and some photos of the existing site. It has had some thinning done. Didn't quite get to the point that we would consider it cleared enough to put them under the 3-year moratorium, so they are able to move forward with the rezoning and developing if they so choose. We do not have a full concept plan with this request. A little bit different. We see a lot of planned developments for our residential projects. In this case, they've elected to go with a straight R2, so they'll be required to meet county code requirements for that, which is the 10,000 square foot minimum lot size, and the setback requirement, so that's 10 feet side and rear for R2. They'll also have buffer requirements around this project that are not currently reflected on the sketch plan. So they're gonna be required 50 feet along both Hamilton and Wrightsboro roads, and at least 25 feet on the sides of the property, If they end up doing major site grading, that would be increased to 50 feet. They currently have 240 lots on this plan, but with the buffers I'm mentioning, as well as some environmental features that our floodplain manager pointed out, they're likely to lose some of those in the final design, and they'll be required to bring that design, that concept plan back to you guys for approval before they move forward with the project. In terms of future land use, this property is in the neighborhood's character area on the future land use map. This area is intended for the creation of new subdivisions, that 1 to 4 unit per acre density. R2 does fall within that range. It's typically around 2 to 2.5, and that's about what they're showing with the sketch. The other part of the neighborhood's character area is protection of existing neighborhoods. We do have houses to the east of this site in particular. They said there's buffer requirements in place in county code to help protect those houses from the new development. Staff is recommending approval with several conditions. The first of which requiring the buffers to be privately or to be platted outside of the lots and owned by the HOA or the POA. That hopefully keeps them out of individual lots and keeps homeowners from going in and taking those buffers out unintentionally. Condition for that 50-foot buffer on Hamilton and Wrightsboro roads, that's kind of restating the code, just making sure the applicants are aware that that is a requirement. Sidewalks on both sides of all streets. R2 does require a minimum 10% of the site be reserved as open space. They are showing that on their sketch plan. And this condition speaks to timing for installation of any amenity that's included in this development, that it needs to be in prior to 50% of the lots being developed. R2 also does require both public water and sewer. Water is very easily obtainable for this property. Sewer is down the street in Willow Oak Village is their nearest connection. If they're not able to make that happen to get the sewer to this property within 2 years, the zoning would revert to RA under this proposed condition. We also have conditions from our traffic department regarding traffic calming, as well as street hierarchy in the design, the final design of the subdivision and the concept plan, as well as utility easements along Hamilton Road. That concludes the staff recommendation.
Gentlemen, any questions of staff?
10-foot setback does, they require with R2,
Yes, sir.
no variance.
An individual homeowner could bring a variance before you, but as for the development as a whole, 10 feet is going to be the requirement.
Is the applicant here this evening? Yes, would you like to come forward and give us any additional information? And if I could ask you, please remove your hat, sir. Thank you.
I'm Donald Gilman. I live at Willow Oaks, 3264 Alexandria Drive. Last month, we was going through the county commissioners on the left-hand turn lane. And if you rezone this off to open it up to residential, they're not holding Beasley accountable. Put that left-hand turning lane in, and he's still building his houses out there.
Sir, are you the applicant?
I know that.
No, are you the applicant?
Huh?
Are you the applicant? Are you the applicant that I asked if the applicant was here?
Oh.
Yes, sir. Let me hear from them first, okay?
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Please give us your names and home addresses.
Okay, Melvin Smith, I'm at 4324 Parkwood Drive, Augusta, Georgia, and I am the applicant.
I'm Jim Allfriend in Thompson, 315 Church Street.
And would you spell your last name, please, sir?
Alfrien.
Thank you.
Okay, like Daniel has stated, it'd be 100-acre tract. We're looking to zone from RA to R2. And we did go back and per our earlier meeting, to know about the 50-foot buffers, and we went back out. One of the questions was, had it already been disturbed because I thought it was clear cut. But as we went out, Jim has stated that it had not been clear cut. So we're good on the buffers. And the other conditions too, about the easement and on all the conditions that we need to adhere to, we'd already planned to do that. So there'll be no problems addressing those conditions.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, sir. We may ask you to come back up.
May I
Yes, sir,
On
please.
behalf of the current owners, they grew up in Augusta, made their lives elsewhere. They're now in their mid-80s, and they're doing family planning. Their objective is to sell this property. And I don't think there's any question the highest and best use is the conforming neighborhood use of residential. I think that growth out of Grovetown past Uchi Creek towards Pumpkin Center, property is right in the path of it. That's the objective, is to sell it for its highest and best. Owners have been good stewards of the land. I've been associated with it for over 30 years. And it's been well taken care of per their responsibility.
Thank you, sir.
One question. How many houses are you thinking that you can put on that piece of property?
Well, it's stated, Daniel was saying earlier, about 2 to 2.4 lots per acre. So you're looking about 200 to 240 lots eventually. We're looking at phasing it and then going to other phases after the first phase.
How many phases do you think you'll do on this?
We're looking at right now about 3 phases. And our plat would state that too, once we go back to engineering, with the official for my civil engineer.
All right, any other questions? Thank you,
Okay,
thank you, gentlemen.
thank you.
Yes, sir, now you can come forward.
The only thing that might concern is the left-hand turning lane.
If you just give us your name one more time,
Okay,
please, sir.
yes, Donald Gilman.
Okay.
3264 Alexandria Drive in Grovetown, 30813. And my only problem is the sewer line. They said that they were gonna connect into the Willow Oaks thing. Be my first condition onto it. And the other thing would be the left-hand turning lane.
Okay, so your concern is them connecting sewer and we're gonna have excess, not enough capacity to handle the extra houses?
But Willow Oak was closed off, and then Beasley added a connection to it to build his extra 90 lots that you already approved for him to build.
Those didn't get approved.
Yes,
We approved them, but the commissioners
the commissioners approved them.
put a contingency on there that I don't think.
Yeah, but with the contingency, well, that's where the discrepancy comes. When you talk to the county chairman, I didn't have names. I think
It
he's.
doesn't matter. But they put a condition of a turn lane
Yeah.
on the approval, and I don't think that they're willing to
They were
accept that
discussing,
condition.
they were discussing them just like you had discussions, but when it came out to vote, I guess it was labeled something else when the commissioner from one had mentioned it with a condition onto it with a vote. And they allowed Beasley to continue to build, but he was gonna have to put the turning lane in instead of having the taxpayers pay for it. Now, if you just continually build in here, we already maxed out on the state codes and regulations on this.
Okay, would you
It's
elaborate
supposed to
on
be a
that?
left-hand turn lane in the get-go. When Beasley started building Willow Oaks, he threw it onto the county and had them pick it up on the splosh. And the commissioners, last month's meeting, threw it back to Beasley and said, listen, you promised to put it in, we need that lane in. And where there was discussion when the chairman had told them that it was gonna be built before he put it in. Mr. Beasley told me back there, I was next to him, sitting back there, he said that he wasn't putting it in. We
Which
need
means-
that left-hand turning
means-
lane in before any more building in
Which
that area.
means he can't build on that property
Currently.
until he puts that turn lane in. Would that be correct?
No, they'd give him permits.
Hang
They-
on,
Yeah,
don't.
No, you're correct, Mr. Chairman. The approval at the last Board of Commissioners meeting was conditioned, the 45 lots was conditioned on a left turn lane as part of that approval. If they don't agree to put that in, then they won't get approval for the additional 45 lots that they were requesting. So that's where that application stands at the moment. Now, whether Mr. Beasley does or does not decide to pursue it, that's up to him to do, and we'll be, waiting for his application to do that. But that's where it stands as of.
So he cannot build those extra 45 lots unless he commits to the turn lane first.
Right.
And the
He's
turn
building-
lane,
He's building on them now. He built three more lots. I went into I was.
on the 45 that were in question, he's got 3 lots under construction right now, then we need to have code enforcement go out and put a stop work order on those.
No,
He doesn't.
He's got houses he's building on lots that were already approved prior to that zoning action that you're talking about, the recent.
Well, he just poured the slabs and the.
Sure, and those are already approved lots.
And I was
then.
wondering why they didn't
Doesn't
stop
affect
the inspections that happened, like you talking about. I didn't know why they didn't stop the inspections. So I came over here to the county on my way.
Because they're already approved. The houses
Not a
you're
part of
talking
the
about are,
45.
they're not part of that track with
Yes,
45.
both part of the new tracks, the 12.9 acres and the 10 something acres in the back where he got approval for from y'all, and then he got approval from the commissioners. But the commissioners put the condition that y'all didn't have onto it. They put the condition that they had to have that turning lane, that Beasley's gonna be responsible for turning lane.
Can you all ask somebody to take a look and either confirm that or not?
And now they're doing this property, building in here, another 200 and something houses, and the turning lane is not in there. I mean, we need a turning lane in there before you approve any more building. Somebody's gonna get killed out there. There was an accident, there was a bad accident happened to a military person less than 3 weeks or a month ago. Somebody's gonna get killed there coming off Hamilton on the Riceboro Road if that turning lanes don't get in. Somebody's gotta hold them accountable.
All right, sir. Thank you, Mr. Gilman. We appreciate you coming out. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak either for or against? Yes, sir. Please come forward, give us your name and home address.
My name is Jim McNair. I live at 846 Hamilton Road. My mother owns the 59.60 or 80, whatever it is, acres that borders the land that y'all want to change to R2. And we are under a Soil Conservation Act on our land itself as far as raising trees.
Okay.
We also have a stream that runs off our pond and runs under our fence down through Mr. Strauss's property. And also have another spring-fed stream that runs off one of it. It also runs into the same stream. I'm just asking, we don't need 240 houses back there no more. Hamilton Road is not wide enough to handle it. Can't get what we need back there to start with. If I'm not mistaken, I could be totally wrong, the sewer is gonna have to come up. There's 4 private roads on Hamilton Road that are dirt. And it's gonna have to come up beside one of those roads that the people own, personal people that, people that own their personal property up through there. And Mr. Beasley wanted to do it before, and it was blocked. I don't know why, but he was trying to purchase this tract of land that y'all trying to change to R2, and he also tried to purchase ours. But I'm asking, please don't let it go through. We do not need 240 more houses back there. It's the last 159 acres in our neighborhood up there. We're totally landlocked all the way around. And we just don't need it.
Thanks, sir.
Thank y'all.
Is there anyone else that'd like to come forward and speak about this particular rezoning? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and accept a motion to. Yes, sir. Please give us your name just for reference. These are recorded, so.
Yes, sir. Melvin Smith. And just a question of the first gentleman, just so I can get some clarity. Was it because of the, saying the turn lane off Hamilton from Riceboro? Is that what's in question?
Sir, is that the intersection you're speaking of? Okay. Okay, got it. That's fine. We got that. We're just verifying the location.
Just want clarity. Okay, great. And for the last gentleman to come up, the sewer, I understand from my previous meeting, is that almost the elbow I call it the elbow from Hampton right there. And so that's a county road. So we were not looking to get an easement on anyone else's property to get to the property. We connect right there at the elbow. So I just want to make sure that, you know,
That's,
I don't think-
Water Utilities indicated they feel they have capacity for it, but at the engineering stage, they'll have to prove that with flow tests, that the sewer line can take the new lots.
But you've been told that's where you could tie in.
yes.
Correct.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
That's where the taps are. All right. For the water and the sewer.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
And with that, we'll close the public hearing, and I'll accept a motion to approve, deny, or to table.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve RZ 200101 with the condition.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion to approve carries 4-0. Ms. Bolte, file RZ 200102.
Yes, sir, this is a request for a major revision to a planned unit development off Baker Place Road. This is part of the Kalari subdivision, again, on the north side of Baker Place Road near the intersection with William Few Parkway, and currently zoned planned unit development. Most of the surrounding properties outside of Kalari are RA. We do have the Misty Meadows PRD just to their northeast. Aerial view of the site, this is a portion of the property that is not developed yet. So the approved plan for the site, this is the section we're dealing with outlined in red here at the back, pretty much the last phase of Kalari. It was originally approved for 70-foot and 85 to 90-foot lots, so some of the larger lots in the development. The applicants recently submitted a preliminary plat with lot sizes that did not match this, and are therefore requesting a revision to change the lot sizes. They're proposing more of a mix of lot sizes, and they do all get narrower. We have 50 to 60-foot lots, and 60 to 70s along the external road. Then around this internal loop road, we have some smaller 45 to 50-foot lots, and then they kind of go back out to 60 to 70, and then the 85 to 90. Despite these revisions, this does not increase the approved density for Kalari. They kind of lost some of the lots they were planning along the way. So they're still within their approved lot count from their original zoning. This is within the neighborhood's character area on the future land use map, intended for single-family neighborhoods. Kalari generally fits that. They do have some townhouses mixed in. The applicant has requested to table this item to January 16th. Staff doesn't see any concerns with that, so the recommendation currently is tabling at the applicant's request to January 16th.
Okay. Again, we will have the first phase of the public hearing. Is there anyone here that'd like to speak either for or against this particular rezoning? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and accept a motion to approve, deny, or to table until January 16th.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion for RZ 20-01-02 table until January 16th.
Do I hear a second? Any discussion? All in favor to table till the 16th? Motion carries 4-0. Mr. Butler, variance 200101.
Mr. Chair, it's a request for a variance to section 9-53, lists lot and structure requirements for a proposed pool at 10 Wingfoot Drive over in Westlake. It shows the location of the property on the west side of Wingfoot Drive. Zoning of the property is R2. This section of Westlake is zoned R2, as you can see here. There is some PUD down here on the other side. That's the remainder of Westlake. Here's an aerial view of the site. You can see the pool's already there. They actually got a variance in 2002 for the pool and pool house to reduce the setback by 2 feet. They're going to build a new pool, and they're coming back for another variance. Here's the existing site, also the existing pool, and also the fence that's currently around the pool itself. Apply the property again, showing the existing pool and pool house on the property. This is the proposed site plan for the new pool. You can see it here on the plan itself. It does encroach into the setback by about almost 6 feet. It's right at about 4 and a few inches away from the property line right here, or actually right there. And then one of the things with this site. There is the ability to move this pool over to have it meet the setback. However, it doesn't really work from a design standpoint to do that. Also, with the fences around it, and also both neighbors have both said they're totally fine with this variance in this case. Staff is recommending approval with a condition on the variance itself. Side setback is reduced to 4 feet from the property line, and again, like with a lot of variances, setback only applies to structures noted on the grading plan submitted on December 3rd by EMC Engineering Services. That includes staff recommendation.
Gentlemen, any questions, staff? Is the applicant here? Yes, sir. Would you like to come forward and give us any additional information? All right. Thank you. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak either for or against this particular variance? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and accept a motion to approve, deny, or to table.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve file VA 200101 with condition.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? To approve carries 4-0. Ms. Mystery, file VA 200102.
So this is a variance at location at 600 Mims Road. It's on .93 acres and the current zoning is P1 professional. Here is the location map, and you can see that it is on the corner of Evans to Locks and Mims. This is a zoning map. It's P1 currently, and there's R2 surrounding it, and S1 and PRD across the street. This is a current aerial. And this is a previous aerial. So what we're showing here is the property was rezoned for P1 in 2012, and construction was started. For reasons that we don't know of, the construction's been very slow, and you can see that part of the parking lot is paved. The building is there. There is a building permit in currently to finish the offices inside and build a fire exit stair on the back. And this is the plat of the property. This is the as-built plan that shows the building in the middle there. And at the time the site plan was approved, it was required a 10-foot buffer along the residential area here. Since the building permit just came in and the construction has not been finished, the code changed in between and is required a 20-foot buffer, and that is what the variance is applied for.
Is that the as-built from 13, or is that a new plan?
That is a new as-built. And it also, what happened was the surveyor picked up that the setback line is here, and the building setback does require a variance too, so that's included in here. It's encroachment of 3.8 feet. This is a map just to show where the buffer lines are, the 20-foot here and the 10-foot here. The building is out of the 10-foot buffer, and the proposal is that the buffer would be supplemented with some landscaping. The applicants did meet the staff out on site and look at the existing buffer to see where additional landscaping could be. These are photographs submitted by the applicants from the views from Evans to Locks Road and from within the site. These were photographs taken at the site visit, shows the part of the parking lot, and then this is where the residential property is, against where the buffer is required, and the other photograph is the back of the property. And the building permit just does include a new fire escape stair with it as well. The future land use map shows this is a neighborhoods area, and this was rezoned in 2012 to P1. So the request is for a variance, and staff recommendation is approval with conditions, with the front setback reduced to meet the current building location. All new construction shall meet required setbacks, and the structural buffer requirement is reduced to 10 feet in width and to be supplemented to meet the intent of section 90-139, in conjunction with the county landscape architect. Existing mature trees and landscaping shall be maintained as much as practically possible.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions of staff?
I've got one that's the pictures that show the back. Those wires or kudzu or what's going on back there?
Are you talking about on the building?
Where the fire escape
Looks like
hopefully will go.
vines. Right.
Looks like vines, yeah.
Y'all didn't take the pictures?
I took the pictures, but it looked like there was some maybe climbing plants, but it looks like it's been partially cleaned off, yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Is the applicant here? Yep. Would y'all come forward, give us your name, home address? Any additional, we know you, but I don't think everybody else does. We've got new members up here since y'all were here last.
Good evening. My name is Debbie Bourne. We live at 206 Breckenridge Lane in Modoc, South Carolina.
All right. Anything you'd like to add?
Well, we would like to now again restart this project and get it completed.
Okay, that's what I want to hear is you're going to be.
So we are in the midst of trying to get everything.
For those that don't remember, this building started its life up on a car lot up on the corner of Washington Road and Old Evans Road. So many years ago.
Yes.
So
Time flies.
good. Well, gentlemen, any questions?
Just out of curiosity, what in the world has taken so long?
Well, the outside is.
I've been driving by this thing for years.
Yeah, the outside is pretty much finished. We just gotta get the inside.
We ended up with some other projects that took
Did y'all
more
move away
concentration.
for a while, or, I mean, what happened?
No, there's just some issues that I'd really rather not get into. That we
Now,
plan to.
are y'all going to sell, lease?
No, we're
Operate
gonna,
out of it?
Yeah, it's gonna be ours. We're not doing
Okay.
anything.
Offices.
Yeah, we
Okay.
want to do a office building.
You got a bunch of office space there. Y'all going to do a share type thing or run real estate company out of there or?
No, we're not gonna do that. We're looking at the possibility right now of doing two spaces to rent, one
Upstairs and downstairs?
One upstairs.
Okay.
How long is it gonna take to complete it? About?
I'm hoping to finish it this year.
Yeah, 2020, that's our goal. That is our goal. The outside is done,
The
the parking lot
outside's pretty much done.
is lined out and half paved.
All the concrete work is finished.
Is
Right.
the first floor done?
The inside, the framing is pretty much all
Okay.
done. I've gotta go
Okay,
in.
because I was under the impression this mostly was for the second floor. But
No, we want to do both floors. It's
I
a
stripped
design.
it out because I want to go in and do all new electrical and
Right.
all new.
Okay. Okay, cool.
The tile floor is on the first. I do all.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank y'all.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak either for or against this particular variance? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and accept a motion to approve, deny, or to table.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve file VA 200102
With conditions?
with those conditions.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 3-1. We have two text amendments tonight. Mr. Butler, would you like to take those individually or collectively?
I'll talk about them one at a time. You can vote on them both at the same time since
Okay.
we've seen these before. So about a year ago, we brought both these ordinances to y'all. What they do, the first one, 9 shows the allowed uses. It changes within the allowed uses side of things. It allows you to have a barn on basically taking out the allows you to have a barn in R1. Basically, that's what it does. When we went and wrote tiny house ordinance, it took a little while. We started before we initiated this text amendment. So we had the old version of the code within tiny house ordinance, which was pretty complex, let's put it that way. When we approved the tiny house ordinance, back in June or July of this year, it changed this ordinance back to the old version. So we're having to go back through and change it back to what we wanted it to be before. That is what the first text amendment does. The second one changes the use provisions and takes out the 10-acre requirement to have a barn or agricultural building on its own. That is something that's been an issue in the past, and this remedies that issue. Again, same problem where it got changed with the tiny house ordinance. Again, staff recommends approval of both ordinances. You've seen them before.
So we need a motion to approve, deny, or to table, and we can probably take both of these at the same time.
Go ahead.
Mr.
I
Chairman,
guess this is a public hearing, though. Is there anyone here that'd like to speak either for or against these particular text amendments? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and now accept a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'm making a motion to approve TA 20-01-01 and TA 20-01-02.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Surely we've got discussion. All in favor? Motion to approve
glad-
carries 4-0.
Glad they knocked the 10 acres out.
Do we have any staff or commissioner comments? To welcome everybody back from a long holiday season, and hopefully county has a great 2020. I think we're set for it. Do we have any public comments? What little public we've got left? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Motion to adjourn, 7:10 PM. Next meeting is January 16th, 2020 at 6 PM in these chambers. Thank you for coming out tonight.
20, but